Thanks so much. It's such a pleasure to be here today and speaking with colleagues. And this discussion is a great segue into my presentation. So I'll share my screen. Just let me know if you can. So I'm going to be talking about public-private data partnerships for an easier job search experience. I come from monster.com, and basically job boards have two goals. The first is to reduce the time required for job search, and the second is to have the best fit, to enable the best fit between candidates and job vacancies. Monster.com was one of the first, it was the first online job board, and it was launched in the mid-1990s. And job boards collect a host of data in order to enable the matching between candidates and jobs. So when I heard my colleagues here speak about how data can be used to create databases and systems that can be used to solve labor market frictions, it really it speaks to me, because that is exactly the kind of data that job boards today have. So basically, I'm going to take you over today the main kinds of data that job boards collect, the data products that we build, and where some of the inefficiencies exist in the system, and sometimes the matching can break down, and how a lot of that can be eased by collaborations with public organizations and by data sharing. So everyone knows how a job board works. There are candidates who come to the platform and upload their resumes and provide information about their past work experience, education, skills, and so on. And we have recruiters or employers who are looking for candidates. They have job vacancies. And they also share a host of information about the position that is available with the job board. And the job board is the intermediary party that is looking to match the two together. Now, there are some assumptions that we make in trying to match the candidates with the job opportunities. So we assume that the underlying data that is used is clean. It doesn't carry junk values, or it's not erroneous data. We also hope that there will be some standardization of the job titles that are used, or of skill descriptions. And that is where a lot of the times we see that the process breaks down, because job descriptions and job positions are they're named by organizations which have complete autonomy over naming them. So I have an example here, and this is a real life example. You can do a search on almost any job board or online professional networking platforms. The position of Chief Human Resource Officer, it is called by 7 or 8 different names. And you can imagine, this is just one example, you can imagine how complex this matching process might get, especially if you're trying to come up with a clean way of classifying and linking job titles and occupations with skills, so that you can do career pathing, you can do skills demand mapping, or you're trying to create training programs for reskilling people, right? So in this paper, we discuss how some of these challenges can be simplified by collaborating and data sharing between public and private organizations. So organizations like monster.com and also private players, private corporations use the taxonomies and the classification systems that are created by the ILO or classification systems like the ESCO. They're used for categorizing a job posting, or when you're trying to create a role, you look at the information that is available in the public domain about what skills to put in this job description. How do you describe the roles and responsibilities? What are the requirements? And similarly, people who are writing resumes also use the same data and the same information. So what I'm going to talk about today is how this process can be made easier by sharing data between private organizations and public organizations, so that the matching process becomes easier. So to start off, the state of our data today is that we have two main data sources, and then we have tertiary data types as well from pricing and marketing. But the two biggest data sources are user-provided data and user activity data. So as the name suggests, user-provided data for job boards, they come from two sources, from the candidates and from the recruiters. Now, I'm of course cognizant of PII regulations, and here we're not talking about PII data. We're strictly talking about data that has been anonymized and scrubbed. So when we look at candidate profiles, we can see things like education, work history, skills, special interests, the roles that they're looking for, or whether they're looking for roles in a particular location, or they're looking for remote jobs. Similarly, when we look at recruiter data, job posting data, we get information on the requirements, the education and skills requirements for that position, company details, salary information, and such. So these are provided by the users. The second type of data, which is important, is user activity or log data. So examples of this are when people come onto the monster.com platform, they click on the different entities, and those clicks fire tags which send back signals to the host platform. So we have data on how many people have viewed a particular job, who has applied to a job, how much time has been spent viewing each job, login information, number of devices used, etc. And then similarly on the seller side, on the job poster side, we have login activity, analytics on how many candidates have applied to a position, historical record of the same, and then job performance data, like how many clicks and views each position has received. And you can imagine that this is incredibly valuable data, because it shows how interest in certain positions or certain fields, certain occupations is evolving over time. It can also tell you whether there's a shortage of labor in a particular location, that the job postings are not getting enough user activity from the candidate side, or if there's a labor supply, meaning there are lots of people with the same skills and not enough job postings. We also have data from other sources like payment systems, advertising platforms, marketing partners. However, for the purposes of today's discussion, I'm going to focus on the first two only. So we use the user activity data and the user-defined, user-provided data to build big data products. And understanding these products will help us better explain where the process fails and how this can be addressed through partnerships. So the biggest requirement for any two-sided marketplace is to be able to search and match the users. So search is self-explanatory. Users should be able to find jobs, and candidates should be able to find jobs, and employers should be able to find candidates. And search keywords are taken as inputs, and the results returned match to the search criteria. Matching, on the other hand, focuses on fit, and it gives you suggestions proactively. So I know everything about a certain candidate based on what they've provided to my platform. And based on that, I can send them updated updates on recent job postings that might be of interest to them or that fit the criteria that they're looking for. And these are either through data feeds or emails or notifications. And similarly, we can do the same thing for employers. Matching algorithms usually use the user provided data, the profile data, as well as activity data to figure out what is the thing that you're currently interested in based on your background. So a second data product that is also hugely important is an internal knowledge base or an internal classification system. And most internal knowledge bases are used to power search and match algorithms because machine learning algorithms function really well. Their performance improves significantly when they're fed structured data. So if I already know that there are 5 categories on which I have to match, if I can specify those 5 categories and the subcategories within each one of them, the search algorithm or the matching algorithm will work n times better rather than if you just fed it unstructured data. So most organizations have internal classification systems. For Monster, we have an internal knowledge base that has job titles, skills, occupations, all linked by relationships that are updated based on how frequently we see certain skills coming up in job postings with each job title. This is particularly important because such internal knowledge bases are fed regularly from taxonomies that are externally provided and that are available in the public domain. So Monster's knowledge base is definitely fed by ESCO, for instance, and also by ISCO. So there are crosswalks that exist because we want to make sure that our classification systems are in sync with what is available in the market. The last data product that is also used a lot, there are quality scoring models that go through each of the job descriptions or resumes, and they look at the completeness and the quality of the information that is being provided. So if you provide in a job posting, if you fill out all the fields, but it's mostly garbage value, the posting will get a very low quality score. And this is important because these scores are inputs in machine learning algorithms that give you search and match results. Because even if the job title is a good match, we don't want to return, or we don't want to surface a job description that has very little relevant information. So obviously this is used to provide guided job posting wizards where we can tell employers where to improve information or whether to add in keywords in order to improve the quality of their posting. And similarly, for candidates, we use a similar scoring system to tell them whether candidates can put in additional keywords in order to improve the profile in their resume.